Minnesota's wildfire season is ramping up in a big way today. The U.S. Forest Service announcing it's closing the entire BWCA wilderness area to visitors starting tomorrow. And they made this decision because of a surge of wildfires across that forest and hot, dry, windy weather, making all of it spread quickly and unpredictably by the hour. Now, fires in the BWCA, they're tough to fight because of the dense wilderness. You know that. Meaning one of the best ways to hit them is from the air. And it just so happens that a St. Paul company recently got the FAA to help outfit small planes with a new tool to help join that fight. Here's Kent.
Momentum Aeronautics is busy building a firefighting tool that's equal parts impressive and unassuming.
The scoop is right here.
At least from the ground.
It pivots here and it comes down and extends kind of just like a V. That comes down and sticks about 1.5 inches into the water.
Dan Garrett knows even video of that little scoop in action is hard to appreciate until it hits the water.
And that small opening will fill about 800 gallons of water in about 15 seconds. So it all happens pretty fast.
And when a plane can refuel at 60 to 90 miles per hour on a nearby lake or river, runways can't compare.
You can take this exact same airplane and you can fill it up on the ground. You might drop 15 drops in a whole day. When you have a set of scooping floats on the same airplane, you might do 15 drops in an hour.
All that speed took time, more than 4 years of research and development.
We had this big fence on the wing to help with some of the stall and the flying characteristics.
Along with a whole lot more engineering than that small scoop.
90% roughly of the accidents for this kind of flying happen on the water because the water is very unforgiving.
That's also why they're constantly working on improvements.
This airplane could be working, in September.
Even as they outfit their fourth plane.
We have 3 out there working this season. Those 3 were in Minnesota earlier this season, and they're out west right now.
If that sounds surprising, given the wildfire threat in northern Minnesota right now, Dan says that's part of the larger issue.
Almost all of the resources are private.
And this summer, an active cycle of fires nationwide is stretching everyone thin.
When the government starts to call in National Guard resources, it means that everybody's starting to be tapped out. When you have a fleet that's set up to serve the average needs of an entire country over a fire season, when those cycles start to intersect with one another, that's when we don't have enough resources.
That's why this relatively little tool holds so much potential.
The aircraft itself is about $3 million. The next scooping aircraft that you can purchase for firefighting is about $35 million. So we're talking about a fraction of the cost.
That's math even I can understand. Momentum Aeronautics gained FAA certification for this scoop system at the end of last year, and they hope to have at least 6 planes outfitted by the end of this year. Even as they do, he says they continue to work on improvements. In engineering terms, he said this process is like a marathon, and they're still on mile 3.
Okay, that's not very far in the marathon. I can do that math as well, Kent.
Yeah.
Just kudos to everybody working on this. We have real problems with wildfires, and it's just cool to see human beings invent things to help all of us. But my question has to do with wind. When it picks up all of that water, how much does wind play a factor with those kind of aircraft?
I asked him about that today on the water specifically. He said they actually don't want just glass on the lake, no wind, because that's when it's hardest to get in there and can be most violent. But he said about 3-foot waves, up to that, they're pretty good.
Whoa.
Beyond that, it gets a little dicey and they probably wouldn't be able to scoop up.
Okay, but they can dive in with waves even that high? Well, that's
Yeah.
not 3 feet, Janet. Okay, anyway, enough math. Cool story.
Yeah.
Thanks, Kent. We'll be